Hello again, baseball fans, and welcome to a special edition of the Prospects Live show. I'm your host, Kris Dunn, joined by a couple of our grinders, a couple of the guys that will be out scouring some fields, providing some news and notes and analysis throughout the season. Reese White and Brandon Smith joined with me tonight as we're going to break down the beginning of the 2022 season. And if you guys had a chance to recently check out the bold predictions, go to prospectslive.com and you can see a bunch of us guys put together I guess a lot of bold predictions, things that are probably not going to happen, right? That's the definition of a bold prediction. Probably not going to happen, but if it does happen, we want to be able to say that we told you so. And so we can come back to this tape and we can say, see, I told you it was bold, but it happened. So we can take our victory lap on Twitter, as everyone likes to do. So go to prospectslive.com, check out the bold predictions for hitters, and then also bold predictions for pitchers. If you have any questions or comments about those bold predictions, or maybe you have some bold predictions of your own, throw those comments, throw those questions in the comments section on YouTube throughout this show, and we will address them. We'll get them answered. Maybe you have a spicy take, and we'll throw it up and give you the opportunity to come on and talk about it a little bit if you want to. So I guess, Brandon, welcome to the show. Since you are the newest member between the three of us here to the Prospects Live crew, welcome to the show, buddy.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Of course. Reese, I know obviously you're going into your second full season here with Prospects Live. So why don't you give us a little bit about where you're located and what you're focusing on mostly heading into 2022?
So I'm located in Southern California. I'm mostly focused on the Southern California teams, Rancho, Inland Empire, Lake Elsinore, all those teams down here in the newly renamed Cal League, going back to the old name finally. And that's where I cover the professional side of baseball, the minor league side and everything. And yeah, you'll catch me at all those 3 fields, probably go up to Northern California, maybe once or twice this year as well, but I'm covering the California area. I'm also probably going to be hitting up the Phoenix area as well. So you probably see me doing some stuff around there as well in the, what do they call it? The Arizona Complex League. So yeah, you'll see some content on that kind of stuff from me.
Cool. And Brandon, what about you? Obviously, this is your first full season with Prospects Live as you joined, I believe, what was it, July of last season, right?
Yeah. So my background, I actually met Jeff, who's now working at Baseball America when I was interning on the Cape last summer. So I'm currently a second semester junior in college, and I'm out in Western New York. So I'll get a lot of AAA coverage between the Rochester Red Wings, Syracuse Mets, Buffalo Bisons, Binghamton Rumble Ponies. And then guys have probably seen a lot of my draft content already on Twitter. So definitely bringing the amateur and minor league coverage to the table.
Perfect. Well, obviously excited to have you on. Obviously, Reese, for your second full season, Brandon for your first. Guys, let's just get right into it. I know over the weekend we published the bold predictions for hitters, and then a couple days later we published all of our bold predictions for pitchers. Brandon, you were overzealous on this one. I feel like a little bit, as there was several. I don't even know if all of the ones that you had put out there were published to the general public. So let's, I guess, start with you. There was a couple that you had out there. One of them in particular that I was interested in was Orelvis Martinez of the Toronto Blue Jays, younger guy, finally cracking that top 50 of the top prospects. Has been a name that, diehard dynasty guys have probably known for the last couple seasons. But I think this year is where he's probably going to start getting a little bit more of that mainstream recognition. So talk a little bit about Orelvis Martinez. As you said, he will be the top shortstop prospect in the industry.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, as we have the graphic pulled up right here, my hot take on Orelvis Martinez, I think he will be the top shortstop prospect in the industry. He's a guy I actually saw a lot of before he hit pro ball last year. And obviously he has the tools to play. I think he's a shortstop long-term with the Blue Jays, which really is an organization that has a really lot of young depth on the position player side, either already at the major league level or on the cusp of getting ready to break in this year. So definitely a very exciting talent. He's definitely most polarizing in the box, quick twitch athlete, really has electric bat speed, which as a 19-year-old to hit 28 homers across 2 minor league levels, definitely not something to shy away from. And I know in the last couple of weeks, it won't happen now since the Guardians locked up Jose Ramirez today, but he was definitely a name that you heard floated around in trade rumors with the Blue Jays and the Guardians surrounding a Jose Ramirez trade. So it comes as no surprise that he is also a coveted player in the industry. And I think based on the tools that he has and the performance he had last year across 2 levels, and considering he's going to be 20 years old this whole season, definitely a really exciting prospect on hand for the Blue Jays.
So right now we've got Gabriel Moreno listed as the Blue Jays' #1 prospect, and Martinez is right there behind him at #2. Are you, are you, is it a foregone conclusion that he will be the #1 prospect at the end of the season heading into 2023 for the Blue Jays?
Yeah, I think without a doubt. I think Moreno definitely has a chance to. He's already in AAA this year.
Right.
I think with catcher, I think Moreno is the catcher for the Blue Jays by the second half of the season. So I think with the numbers that Martinez will put up in the minors, I think he'll solidify himself as the #1 prospect in the Blue Jays system. And as I said in my take, I think he'll solidify himself as the best shortstop prospect in the minors.
Yeah, and I think you could even make the argument that even if Moreno doesn't graduate, right, even if entering 2023 Moreno is still eligible to be on this list, you could make the case that Martinez is still #1. And I don't think that there's anyone underneath Martinez that, at least for my money, that's glaringly going to make that jump. I mean, you look at a guy like Jordan Groshans, I don't see that happening. Yeah, Gunnar Hoagland, fully healthy, maybe he makes some steps forward, but I certainly don't think he jumps over a guy like Orelvis Martinez. Reese, let's go to you. Any thoughts? Have you had a chance to look much into Orelvis Martinez, or any thoughts on him?
So yeah, I write the sheet. And last year, Orelvis Martinez was just constantly on the sheet because he was constantly hitting home runs, like left and right. It seemed like just hit him in bunches. He was so good. And when I saw the take and everything, I was like, yeah, I agree with this. This is probably a really nice take. I like it a lot. And I mean, if Gabriel Moreno stays in AAA all season and doesn't make it to the major leagues, then you really have Martinez is going to be the #1 prospect regardless, because I think everything has to go wrong for Moreno to be at AAA all season. So yeah, I really like this take. I really like it. I think it was a good one from Brandon.
All right, so we're gonna throughout the show we're going to look at some viewers out there, comments, questions, and pull those in. And Joshua, I really hope I'm not butchering your name here, but it looks like Joshua Butterbaugh throws this out there. And no, I guess the easy answer to Joshua's question here before I even throw it up on the screen is no. The answer to your question is no for 2022, probably 2023. But I guess moving forward down the road, maybe it's a possibility for a guy like Bo Bichette to move to third base. Obviously, it doesn't make sense right now because the Blue Jays went out and got Matt Chapman. So Chapman will play third, Bichette will play short. I think if anything, maybe they would move Bo Bichette to second if they really wanted Orelvis Martinez to stick at short. Like Brandon, you mentioned, you think that he can. I guess the better question here, where would it make more sense? Would it make more sense to slide? And I guess Brandon, I'll go to you on this one. Do you think it would make more sense to move Orelvis Martinez to second and leave Bo Bichette at short, or move Bo Bichette to second and put Orelvis Martinez at short? And we're talking 2 years from now, maybe 3 years from now, assuming the Blue Jays lock up Bichette, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely an interesting point. I kind of see both ends of the argument there. I could see a universe where if Bo's defense kind of plateaus to where he's at now, maybe loses a step or two, that he does eventually slide over to second base because as we have in our report over at Prospects Live, Orelvis definitely has the tools and the instincts to play shortstop at the major league level. So I think in the short run, Bo is definitely the shortstop of the future, but maybe 2-3 years from now when Orelvis is in the big leagues, I think there definitely is an argument to be had that he is the starting shortstop of the future for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at the Blue Jays roster right now, and heading into the season, obviously everybody's looking at predictions and projections, and it's the American League East has often been referred to as the American League Beast, right? It's very difficult to come out of the American League East. And I just have a hard time thinking that anyone is going to be able to, at least on paper right now. I don't think there's anyone that matches up with the Blue Jays. Even the Rays and what they've done the last couple seasons, I don't think really come close to what the Blue Jays have right now. So certainly a extremely talented team heading into the 2022 season, and probably the front runners for that American League East title. Reese, let's go to you. As I know there was a hitting prospect that you were very high on, and you had quite the bold prediction here for a very particular Chicago Cubs prospect. So tell me a little bit about your boy here.
I'm a big fan of Owen Casey. I think he is someone who has like pretty high and exit velocities at 113 miles per hour. I think he can hit. He does not expand the zone a lot, which is really nice to see. He can get a little aggressive in the zone. I think he'll get better with that. I think the Cubs do a pretty good job tinkering with guys' swings. As we've seen this offseason with Pete Crow Armstrong, his swing looks amazing. And I think that guy's another guy who's going to blow up as well. But Owen Casey, I think, is going to end the season as Chicago's best prospect. And there's a lot of really good guys in contention for that. That's a really loaded, like bottom, like not bottom, but like lower end of the system, like low minors and everything. So I'm ecstatic about him. I think he's going to be a middle of the order type hitter, 30 home run type guy. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Owen Casey, and I think he's going to absolutely break out this year. I think he's going to well hit past the 7 or 8 home runs he hit this season. But yeah, Owen Casey's my guy this year for sure.
All right, so I'm just going to throw this out there because there's a lot of people right now on the north side, right, that are probably saying to you, what are you talking about? You mean to tell me that he's going to be ahead of Pete Crow Armstrong? He's going to be ahead of Christian Hernandez. He's going to be ahead of Kevin Alcantara, right? Like, you think that Owen Casey is going to be ahead of all of those guys, because those guys aren't coming up in 2022. All those guys that I just mentioned, Alcantara, Hernandez, Armstrong, they're still going to be in the minor league levels entering 2023. And you're saying that Casey is going to leap all of those guys and be the number one prospect for the Cubs, correct?
Yes, I genuinely believe that. I hope I'm right. I hope we get to circle back at this at some point when I'm right and I get my due credit.
Of course.
Because I think Casey's just got that. I think he's got the most power of that group. I think he might not be the polished hitter that Christian Hernandez might be, but I think he's going to have way more power. And I mean, he's going to get dinged because he's going to be a corner outfielder. But I think the power is just going to carry him and is going to explode this year.
All right. Well, he's currently in at number 8 on our top 30 Cubs prospects. And just to run down the guys that are ahead of him, Ed Howard comes in at number 7. Caleb Killian, who was another name that had a bold prediction attached to him, comes in at number 6. Jordan Wicks at number 5. And then Alcantara 4, Hernandez 3, Armstrong 2. And then the obvious graduation this year of Brennan Davis, he is in at number 1 right now. I guess, Reese, was it you? I forget. Was it you that had the bold prediction for Caleb Killian as well?
No, that was not me.
That one wasn't you.
No, but Caleb Killian is going to. I think he's going to, like, in the second half of the season, going to pitch out of that rotation for the Cubs and be quite serviceable. And with the state of the NL Central not being great, I mean, who knows? Maybe they sneak into the playoffs. Who knows? Crazy things have happened. So
it was Jake Kearns. Caleb
Yes.
Caleb Killian breezes through the upper minors and has among the biggest impact, the biggest major league impact of any pitching prospect in the second half of the season. So that was the bold prediction for Killian per our good buddy Jake Kearns. Looking at a couple other hitters, and then I guess we'll turn it over to the pitching side. I think the pitching side is where we've got a lot more conversation and a lot more debate. And I think on the bold predictions for pitchers is where we started to see some chatter on the higher end and who some of the top name guys are and who's in contention for that best overall pitching prospect for 2023. So we'll get into that in a little bit, but let's talk about Zach Veen. Obviously, being here in Florida, I've had a chance to see Zach Veen. I've talked to people close to Zach Veen. I'm even friends with a lot of people that have played and family of Zach Veen that have just been around the kid for a long time. A consensus top 10 prospect at the end of the season heading into 2023. This is the one that I look at, guys, out of all of the bold predictions that we had. Every single one, pitchers and hitters combined. This is the one that I felt like was I guess this was the mild pepper, right? This was not the jalapeno pepper. This was not the habanero pepper. This wasn't nearly as spicy as a lot of those other bold takes that we've had. This was kind of that like serrano pepper, just kind of mild in spice. I don't know that this is necessarily all that bold, because I think right now, correct me if I'm wrong, and Reese, will start with you here. Zach Veen is not that far away from a top 10 prospect already. I mean, when you look at our current top 100 prospects, Zach Veen comes in at number 30. And by pure, I guess by graduation alone, you're looking at probably 8 to 12 guys that could graduate ahead of him. And so just by graduation and sheer numbers, he's almost guaranteed to get into the top 10, right? I mean, this one's not that bold. This is almost like, of all the predictions that we have, this was the most likely to happen. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would tend to agree, because I mean, we're going to have a whole new top 10, like at like a quarter way through the season, it feels like.
Right.
So like outside of like Corbin Carroll, out of the top 10 guys off the top of my head, I mean, CJ Abrams might graduate by then. But yeah, we're gonna have a totally new top 10. I will say I don't want to sound like I'm bashing Tyler at all, because Tyler did a really good job. I wrote Zach Veen's report, and I'm kind of whelmed by Zach Veen. I just, maybe I'm jaded by my own personal looks at him. I saw him like 5 or 6 times this year, and I just didn't see the athlete that everyone else was raving about. I saw like an okay to an above average athlete, not this overwhelming athlete that I feel like it keeps getting brought up in the Twitter sphere and the prospect conversation. So I am a little tepid on Zach Veen personally.
Would you refer to him as a bell pepper?
Yeah, maybe even a bell pepper. I don't know. I don't want to insult poor Tyler, but yeah, this was like a bell pepper-ish take.
I feel like we need to, as we go through these guys, we will have a rating scale. We'll have the bell pepper, the serrano pepper, the jalapeno pepper, and then the habanero pepper, right? And then maybe like the ghost pepper, like the absolute Carolina Ripper pepper, of a take where there's just absolutely no chance that it happens, but if it does happen, you are deserving of that victory lap. I mean, Brandon, do you think anything different here? This is one of those predictions that I think is, probably guaranteed to happen, right? I don't like throwing out guarantees, but of all the ones, this is the one, right?
Yeah, I definitely think he's a guy that has one of the safer floors to definitely creep into that top 10. And kind of to piggyback off of Reese's point, where we're talking about guys that we think could slide into the top 10. Another guy that we had in the hot takes was Jordan Walker with the Cardinals. I think he's a guy that could definitely be in the running to be one of those top guys. And I believe in our hot takes, we had him as the number 1 guy at the end of the season. So, yeah.
So talk a little bit, since you brought him up, talk a little bit more about Jordan Walker.
Yeah. So Walker, I'm sure many of the viewers know, he has unbelievable raw power. It's definitely 80 grade, and it transfers in game. He's just a physical athlete. I definitely think he has the tools to play third base with the range and arm strength that he has. And I definitely think he's a guy that at 20 years old, I think that's something a lot of people forget just because of how physically mature he is. I definitely think he's a guy that can rake in the middle of the Cardinals lineup for years to come. Definitely a future 35 to 40 homer guy. Where do you think he will be at the end of 2022 or heading into the 2023 season? I think if he continues to put up numbers in the minor leagues and continues to make the approach adjustments at the plate, cut down a little bit on the swing and miss, I definitely think we're talking about a top 5 prospect and maybe a guy that's even pushing for that number 1 spot.
Yeah. So we had Jordan Walker in at number 13 in our top 100. So clearly, no reason why he couldn't be that top prospect for the Cardinals moving forward. Another hitting prospect that we'll get into here, and before we switch it over to the pitching side of things, the Boston Red Sox have a pretty good first baseman on the way up, and that's Triston Casas. Triston Casas gets the call sooner than later, wins the American League Rookie of the Year over Bobby Witt Jr., Spencer Torkelson, and Adley Rutschman. And I guess you could also throw into the mix now Julio Rodriguez as it was recently announced this week that the J-Rod show is in effect in the Pacific Northwest. Julio Rodriguez will break camp with the Mariners. So I guess bell pepper, serrano pepper, jalapeno pepper, habanero pepper. How bold is this one here?
I mean, I think kind of to the point we just mentioned earlier when we were talking about the American League East this year being the American League Beast, I think it's definitely going to be a tight race. Those division games are going to matter. And I think if Casas can, he is in AAA right now in Worcester. If he gets that call, and I think he definitely could be a guy that could produce right away in the middle of Boston's lineup. And as Ethan says is in his hot take, he may be that X factor in the American League East that could potentially push the Sox over the edge and either win the division or maybe beat out a wild card spot over a team like, say, the Yankees, the Rays, or the Mariners.
Yeah, Reese, what are your thoughts on Casas here?
I think this is a little spicy considering that with Torkelson, I mean, Rushman's injured, so he's probably taken out, and then he's a catcher, so he's going to miss some time, just like,
right.
Rotating in and out. And J-Rod are all like going to break with their team out of camp. I was going to get it at some point, and they're going to accumulate the counting stats and whatnot that the voters are looking for. But I don't disagree. I think it's a good take. I think out of the next group of guys, Casas is definitely one of the guys that I would think could be in the consideration for the AL Rookie of the Year. I just don't think he will win because those other guys will have such a head start on him. But I think he's going to be an X factor when he does break. I think he's going to be a middle of the order hitter, and I think he's just going to hit a ton of home runs in the American League East with all those hitter-friendly ballparks. And who knows? I mean, Boston seems like people are talking about them as like clearly the fourth team in that division. And they're not a bad team. Like, they're really solid. I mean, who knows who's pitching for them, but you can figure that out, I guess. But I think Boston could be like a sneaky team this year and maybe upset one of the Yankees, Tampa, Toronto, and maybe win that division. I don't think it's that far-fetched. I think they're a really solid team.
I think it's interesting. A lot of people are predicting, obviously with the 7 teams now making it into the playoffs from the American League, there are a lot of people out there that are predicting the American League East will get 4 teams. The Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, and the Rays will all make it, which is unbelievable to think that the only teams that will get in the American League outside of the American League East will get in because they won their division. I don't subscribe to that theory. I think that it's going to be very difficult, even if you believe that the Red Sox are better than let's just throw out the Twins, or even if you believe the Red Sox are better than the Mariners, or the Red Sox are better than, what's another one? I guess those are the 2 that immediately pop in my head. I have a hard time thinking that a second place Twins team, assuming that the White Sox win the division, the second place Twins are going to have a worse record than the 4th place Red Sox. I think by record alone, it's going to be very difficult for a 4th place team to have a better record than a second place team. And whether it's the Red Sox or the Rays or the Yankees or even the Blue Jays, who knows? I think that's going to be very difficult to accomplish, to get, all 3 wild card teams from the same division. I think in terms of this take, I think the interesting thing will be, and I think this is where this could happen, and I think there would be more grounds for this to come true, is if the Red Sox were out of it. If the Red Sox were not in contention when they got towards the trade deadline, I could envision a scenario where JD Martinez becomes expendable. And if JD Martinez becomes expendable, well, then maybe you take a guy like Bobby Dahlbeck and you move him to DH, or you put Casas at DH and leave Dahlbeck at first. But if the Red Sox aren't in position to make the playoffs, I would imagine a lot of people are going to be calling on JD Martinez. And if the Red Sox are so inclined to move JD Martinez, well, then that opens up the roster spot for Casas, and the development comes a lot in the second half after a move like that would be made. I mean, don't you guys agree that's probably the best case scenario for Casas to get the most amount of at-bats is a guy like Martinez being moved?
I feel like that, or Dahlbeck just struggles, because Dahlbeck isn't exactly known for being consistent. So I feel like those are the only 2 ways that Casas gets up and can really put put his name towards that award. I do wonder with Cassis, like I said, he just in such a strong rookie class, just coming up later than everyone, I think just really hurts him. In a normal class, I think he's definitely in contention, but I just think in this super loaded class, I mean, we even have Shane Boz and Grayson Rodriguez might make the majors really quickly. Like, we're going to have one of the best rookie classes in recent memory, and it's going to be an absolute bloodbath to get that AL Rookie of the Year this year.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brandon.
Sorry, I was just going to second that point and say, like, the talent that is in the American League, specifically with the rookies, it's insane. And I think it's great for the sport. And I think that kind of goes back to one of the new rules that's in the new CBA surrounding the draft. And that if you get your top prospects in the big leagues on the opening day roster, there's now draft pick compensation that can potentially be received. So I think we'll see this more moving forward and really build up that excitement for the Rookie of the Year races right from the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, obviously we're talking about American League rookies, right? If you look at current odds, according to DraftKings, Tristan Casas comes in at number 11, the 11th best odds in the American League. We're not talking in all of Major League Baseball. He has the 11th best odds in the American League alone, right? And just to give you guys an idea of who those prospects are, again, this is according to DraftKings, but according to DraftKings, American League rookies, the best odds to win Rookie of the Year, Bobby Witt Jr. in at number 1, Julio Rodriguez and Spencer Torkelson are tied at 2. And then it's Adley Rutschman, Shane Boz, Jeremy Pena, shortstop for the Astros, who I think, I think this is almost I think Pena is almost too low for me. And I know that sounds crazy because he's behind guys like Witt and Torkelson and Rodriguez, and why would he be above them? I just think that Pena is going to be entrenched in that lineup. And he's going to be, in a situation where he's not really asked to do all that much. And I think he could put up sneaky numbers and have a chance at finishing in that top 3 for American League Rookie of the Year. And then after Pena, Riley Green, Reed Detmers, Joe Ryan, and then Josh Lowe, outfielder for the Rays, comes in at number 10, and then Casas is there at number 11. So there's a lot of really good rookies. And to your point, Brandon, we're going to see a lot of these teams bring these rookies up because if they finish in the top 3, like you mentioned, they're going to get that draft pick compensation, which is a big deal for bringing them up and losing that year of service time. So I like it. I think that's one of the more interesting changes to the CBA that we saw. And I think for us who love watching prospects and love following the minors and love looking at guys that are 18, 19, 20 years old before they get the call, I think it's great. I think gone are the days of service time manipulation, and maybe we'll still see some of it, right? I don't think it'll ever go away, but I think by and large, a lot of these top prospects are going to be given a chance to come up and perform because, again, GMs want to see these guys finish in the top 3. And the best way to do it, as Reese mentioned earlier, is counting stats. The best way to get your counting stats is to get as many ABs as possible and as much playing time as possible. And you're not going to bring these guys up so that they can sit the bench. So good stuff there. That's a look at a lot of the bold predictions for hitters that we had. And again, you can check out these lists at prospectslive.com, all of the bold predictions that we had for hitters and then bold predictions that we had for pitchers. So let's get into some of those pitchers, right? Personally, for me, I'm a big fan of Chicago White Sox right-hander. I was a big fan when he came out of the draft. When he came out of the draft in 2020, we did superlatives after the draft, and biggest steal of the draft, I said, was the Chicago White Sox getting Jared Kelly in the second round. I thought that was the biggest steal of the draft, was them being able to get him in the second round. I thought he was a first-round talent. I thought he was the best prep arm in the class. And so I don't know that this is necessarily all that bold. Certainly, I don't feel like I certainly don't think this is, habanero pepper spicy. Especially when you look at the Chicago White Sox. If you look at our top 30, there's only 2 guys that are ahead of Kelly right now, and I don't see any reason why he couldn't surpass them. 2021 was kind of a little, injury plagued for him. as his season ended short. He had a little bit of struggles, but again, it was his first full season of pro ball. So Reese, let's go to you. What are your thoughts here on Kelly? I know you've had, you had probably have quite a bit to say about him.
I do agree he will be the White Sox best pitcher, but I think that's going to be kind of maybe by default. I mean, the White Sox, as we know, the White Sox system for good reason is not very good because they graduated their guys, they're competing, they're trading guys, they're doing exactly what you want a competitive team to do. Jared Kelly is someone who I'm kind of lower on than most. I think there is a good fastball there. I think there is a feel for a good changeup every once in a while. I do worry about the breaking pitch from him, but if he can figure that out, I think the White Sox can do good things with pitchers. So I like this. I like the take. I mean, he hopefully it can't get much worse than last season. Last season was pretty rough for Jared Kelly.
Yeah, for sure. Brandon, any thoughts on Kelly here? The two guys, just so you guys, the two guys that are currently ahead of Kelly on the top 30 for the White Sox, Matthew Thompson in at number 8. And then Norge Vera is in at number 5 for the White Sox. So, Brandon, thoughts on Kelly here?
Yeah, I actually wrote the report on Kelly over at Prospects Live this year, and I see a lot of things that we just talked about. It's definitely a plus fastball that has flashed double plus metrically when taking into account velocity and other raw data that he generates on the pitch. But definitely was injury-plagued season, and he did struggle a lot with the command, but I do like the changeup. I think it does, in my eyes, profiles an above-average pitch. But to Reese's point, the slider is kind of a fringe offering. But I definitely think he has the tools and the makeup to definitely be a potential impact starter in the minor leagues for the White Sox going into 2022.
All right, and then taking a look at actually, before we do that, one thing that I guess I'll throw out to you guys, because you look at Kelly and Reese, you bring up, concerns that are legit, right? Concerns of the command, concerns of the off-speed stuff. Certainly the fastball could be there, the plus fastball. That's nice. Is Kelly a guy that could be destined to a bullpen role? Like, I guess, how much reliever risk are we talking about here with a guy like Kelly?
I think there's a decent amount of risk, or definitely high risk of him being a reliever, but that is definitely something the White Sox have excelled in the last few years, is really developing internal guys that then come up and pitch out of the bullpen. So if that ends up being Kelly's long-term route, considering that he is a second rounder, if he can end up being a high leverage reliever for the White Sox long-term, I think looking at where he was drafted in the second round, I definitely think that's good surplus value for the White Sox.
Reese, anything there?
I totally agree with what Brandon said. I think that's a great point. So there's a lot of value there if he's, because that draft, they did what? They basically did Crochet, Kelly, and then just kind of were like, figure it out at that point. They're like punting guys and like you going with senior signs and whatnot, which was a good strategy because Garrett Crochet's pitched in the majors and Jared Kelly looks like he could very well pitch in the majors. So, I mean, if you get two guys out of a 5-round, that was a 5-round draft, right?
That was the 5-round.
Yeah, so if you get two guys out of that draft to make the major leagues, you've done a fantastic job. I mean, even in the 20-round draft, sometimes it feels like if you get two guys, you've done really well. Not everyone could be the Dodgers and get like 9 guys from one draft class in the majors. But yeah, I think I agree with the high reliever risk. I think, with his fastball, you could project even a little bit more if he does go into a reliever role, because he can just focus on, being maybe a one-time through the order type guy as opposed to just a single, like the 8th inning guy or 9th inning guy. You get the lineup once and turn it over, kind of like what they were doing with Kopech at one point. So yeah, I like Jared Kelly in that role. I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Yeah,
and so I was gonna bring this up too, and you kind of perfect segue there. Just mentioned Michael Kopech. The White Sox. It wouldn't be the first time that the Chicago White Sox have taken a top prospect, put him in the bullpen, let him get some his legs underneath him, and then work him into a starter's role. Obviously, they did it. Most notably, they did it with Chris Sale, right? And then now Kopech in the bullpen. Obviously, the injuries, and now looking at transitioning Kopech into a longer role, possibly in that rotation for them this season. So it's not unheard of for the White Sox to do something like that, possibly bring Kelly up, put him in the bullpen, and maybe stretch him out. And if he doesn't get it together, if he can't figure it out, well, then fine. Maybe you're talking about a very good setup man, or maybe a guy that could potentially, close out games as a future role. One guy that will not be closing out games, at least anytime soon, is a guy that Jared Perkins thought was going to be a closer by the end of 2022. So Jared Perkins said Colby White takes over as the Rays closer by the end of 2022. And the reason that I can say that will 100% not happen is because earlier today, the Rays announced that Colby White will undergo Tommy John surgery, so he will be out for the season. And even before that, without that, right, the Rays are notoriously known for not really going with a set closer, right? I mean, they could trot out 4 or 5 different guys over the course of a season that could get you anywhere from 7 to 12 saves by the time the season's over. So I guess injury aside, Brandon, thoughts on Colby White here at all?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a guy that was a quick riser through the Rays system last year. And to your point, the Rays, they do a phenomenal job at really being able to get the most out of their pitchers and really being able to mix and match once they get into the big leagues. So definitely from a metric standpoint, how he performed in the minors, I could definitely see long run Colby White could be a guy we're talking about that makes a name for himself out of the back end of the Rays pen.
Reese, you got anything on White?
Not really, but like I think I genuinely agree. Like the only thing is with the Rays is that they do that to like game arbitration and whatnot, because saves are an important part of arbitration. So before the injury, I thought there was a chance that he is in that mix, but not the guy, because they don't do the guy smartly. I might add he might work into their I think they call it like their leverage index or whatnot. It's basically they do a really good job of advanced scouting and whatnot, and telling guys this is where you're going to pitch in this game and whatnot, and he could probably excel in that role, because knowing your role is important. It's just as a professional athlete. So yeah, I think he could have been a successful reliever. I just don't know if he was going to be the guy for them.
I think you bring up a good point too, in terms of arbitration and leverage, and when you don't have a guy who is definitively the closer, when you get to arbitration, and when you're a small market team, and whether you like to admit it or not, the Rays are a small market team, right? They don't spend a lot of money, so they have to take every advantage that they can. And going to arbitration and winning arbitration cases to save money is a significant advantage for them if they're able to do so. And when you go to arbitration and you've got a guy who got 25 saves or 35 saves because he was your quote unquote closer, well, then guess what? There's a good chance that he's going to win that arbitration hearing because of those numbers, like you said, Reese. But if you got 4 or 5 guys and they've all got 9 saves or 10 saves, then the Rays have some pretty good leverage, because then they can go to the negotiation table and they can say, well, look, you weren't that much better than any of these other guys. We've got 3 or 4 other guys here that can get 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 saves. So no, we don't think that you're worth $3.8 million. We think you're worth $2.2 million, right? And that extra $1.6 million a year that the Rays might end up saving because they win that arbitration hearing is a big deal for those small market teams. So I think it's a really good point that you bring up there, Reese, in terms of the narrative for not just the Tampa Bay Rays, but a lot of those small market teams. You have to take every advantage that you can possibly get. And certainly the Rays are good at taking advantage of those instances, because obviously the recent successes that they've had. So, yeah. All right, guys, we're going to get into the kind of the big three here, the final portion of this, and some of the hot takes that we had led us to this point. And several of the guys went big and had a bold take, a hot take, a bold prediction for who the number 1 pitching prospect will be heading into 2023. So I put together this little. We did a poll. I put together a poll on Twitter over the weekend to kind of get the fans' perspective. So for those of you that follow Prospects Live on Twitter, you may have got a chance to vote on this. But Daniel Espino, Yuri Perez, and Kyle Harrison were all guys who had the bold prediction of finishing or starting next season as the number 1 pitching prospect in all of baseball. Daniel Espino with the Guardians, Yuri Perez with the Marlins, and Kyle Harrison with the San Francisco Giants. So let's just get right into it. Yuri Perez comes in at number 27 in our top 100, Espino in at 49, and Kyle Harrison is in at 59. Reese, let's start with you. You have to pick one of these guys. Which one of these guys, I guess, why don't you rank them? What is the 1, 2, 3 next season? Which one is what is the order for these guys next season?
This is one of the hardest questions I think I've been asked like ever, because it's like, it's like, when parents say they can't pick their favorite children. Most parents can. I can't. It's hard. It's like I'm having to flip a coin. But I guess
you can, but you don't want to.
I don't want to. Yeah. I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Daniel Espino number 1, Kyle Harrison number 2, Yuri Perez number 3, and I just think because Daniel Espino has like that legit, like it's like an almost Jack Leiter-esque fastball. It's like an elite fastball. He has really good metrics, really good velocity. I mean, he's in the Guardians organization, who, as we know, do a fantastic job with pitchers. I mean, all 3 of these organizations that these guys are in do a fantastic job with pitchers. So you can't even like do a tiebreaker like that. So it's, like I said, really hard. I like Daniel Espino's breaking pitch just a little bit more, and I think the changeups come a long way as well. So I'm going to go Daniel Espino as the number 1 guy, followed by Kyle Harrison, and then Yuri Perez, because I think just those 6'8" guys. I know he's starting off in Double-A, but 6'8" guys, it takes him a little bit. I mean, we watched Tyler Glasnow, who is, I guess, the most recent like big pitcher that we've seen. It took him a little bit to get up and going and whatnot, and get his legs acclimated. So I think just if we're going to rank 3, and as we know, pitchers unfortunately get injured at a high rate. I think I'll just go Daniel Espino. I think he's also I don't know if he's the closest, but yeah, Daniel Espino is my number 1 guy.
Well, and also you bring up a good point. Some of those bigger pitchers, they have a hard time staying healthy, right? I mean, a lot of the 6'5" and up pitchers are the ones that are oftentimes injured and suffer the injury plague that a lot of these guys get. I mean, you don't like to see guys get hurt, but the 5'11", the 6 foot, the 6'1" pitchers seem to be more durable than the 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", and certainly 6'8" guys. Brandon, what are your thoughts here? Which one do you feel will be, I guess, what do you think the order will be here for these 3 heading into next season?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Reese on that one there. I think it's Espino 1, Harrison 2, and Perez 3. And for a lot of the same points that he brought up, it's definitely 3 organizations that we're talking about that do a great job with developing pitchers. But since Reese talked a lot about Espino, I'll focus on the number 2 with Kyle Harrison. And I know in the fan poll that you just had up on the graphic there, he got the least amount of votes. But I think with the Giants and their ability to just develop pitchers, they really know what they're looking for in the draft when it comes to looking at analytic profiles as well as performance. And Harrison definitely checks all those boxes. He's low release lefty. When you look at the fastball metrically, it is an average pitch, but taking into account his release height and the deception he creates, he's definitely thrown into the group of a low release, high hop profile kind of guy. And it's a plus fastball up to 95. And then the other plus offering that he mixes in is a slider that generates plenty of lateral movement and could be classified as a sweeper. He tunnels his pitch as well. So I think he's a guy that he dominated the lower levels of the minors last year. And I think he could be a quick riser through the Giants system. Yeah.
So here's the prediction for Kyle Harrison: finishes 2022 as the top ranked pitcher in the minors. That was from Eddie Almaguer. And then the Daniel Espino take from Alex Kenson. Daniel Espino finishes the year as the top pitching prospect in baseball. And then finally, the Yuri Perez take was from James Weiser. He said that Yuri Perez would finish as the number 1 prospect. So it certainly stirred up a lot of conversation and a lot of debate. All of that being said, let's forget about the bold prediction. Let's forget about the hot take. Do you really think that any of those 3 will be the number 1 prospect heading into 2023? Brandon, we'll start with you. Do you think either one of these guys will finish as the number 1 prospect heading into 2023? And if your answer is no, then tell me who you think the top prospect will be.
Yeah, I kind of have a hard time putting a pitcher as the number 1 prospect in the minor leagues. I just kind of
not number one overall. I mean, do you think that any one of these guys do you think any one of these three will be the number one pitching prospect?
Oh,
They could be
gotcha.
like 8th or 9th overall, but do you think any one of those three guys right here will be the best pitching prospect, regardless of where they're ranked?
Yeah, I think one of these three will definitely be the number one guy.
So
And
you're saying,
I'll-
then you're saying it's Espino, right? Because you had Espino at 1.
yes.
So you think that Daniel Espino will be the highest ranked pitching prospect heading into 2023. So you agree with Alex Kenson here on this?
Yes, I do agree with his take on that.
Okay. Reese, what about you? Do you think that any one of those three guys will actually be the number one pitching prospect?
I think they're the three that you would pick, honestly. I think we did a good job there. But yeah, I would pick Daniel Espino as well. He'd be my guy. I don't know if I'd put him at the top pitching or top prospect in all of baseball, because I think that's going to be Corbin Carroll this time next year. But yeah, I think he'll definitely be the top pitching prospect and really high up there.
So this is where I just differ, because I think I can't put any of these guys ahead of Grayson Rodriguez. And I don't know that Grayson Rodriguez comes up this year, or at least comes up. I don't see any reason why the Orioles would bring Grayson Rodriguez up. And I can't envision any one of those guys surpassing Grayson Rodriguez. I think Grayson Rodriguez is arguably the best pitching prospect in the minors right now. And I feel like he's, a little bit ahead of all these guys, and don't think that he's certainly going to graduate at the end of the year. Thoughts on anyone else other than these three guys that could have a chance at being that top pitcher?
See, I agree with. Oh, my bad.
Sorry, Reese.
Go ahead.
I was going to say maybe Max Meyer, if he doesn't break in this year at the Marlins, I think he could definitely be a guy that's in the consideration, obviously with this fastball slider mix. And to your point, Grayson Rodriguez, if he doesn't graduate the system this year, I think right now he is the best pitcher in the minor leagues.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we talked about the incentive for teams to bring up guys, and certainly I think that Grayson Rodriguez is capable of, getting major leaguers out right now. I just don't know that, there's a significant amount of incentive for them. I almost feel like they should actively not bring him up, simply because he's not going to finish top 3 in the American League Rookie of the Year voting, which is what they would need him to do to get that draft pick compensation, because we just talked about the guys, right? I mean, we talked about, even on his own team, right? Like if Rutschman comes up, we talked about Julio Rodriguez, we talked about Bobby Witt, we talked about Spencer Torkelson. Like all of those guys are going to get everyday at bats for most of the season, unless they struggle and get brought back down, or unless they get injured. They're going to break camp with the major league team. And the reason they broke camp with the major league team was because the team wanted to give them everyday at bats. Spencer Torkelson is not going to be brought up to sit the bench every day, right? I mean, he might not get 550 or 600 plate appearances this season, but he's certainly not going to sit the bench on a daily basis. So I almost feel like a guy like Grayson Rodriguez for the Orioles, if the Orioles front office wants to kind of take advantage of that rule moving forward, maybe next season Grayson Rodriguez has a really good chance to come up and finish in that top running for American League Rookie of the Year. I just don't know that this is the year for him.
I would tend to agree. I just think Grayson Rodriguez will force their hand and just be so much better than everyone he's facing in the upper minors. I think he's just going to be, and we all know with pitchers, they get injured, unfortunately.
Right.
For the most part. So I think they'll just have to call him up and deal with not getting the pick in 2024, which they'll be a bad team. So they'll get a high enough draft pick in the first round anyways. So it won't really impact too much for them to still get all that money. But yeah, I think I think he's going to force their hand and just be that much dominant. That's why I thought Daniel Espino would be the number one guy this time next year.
The Orioles also have DL Hall, who's knocking on the doorstep too. So, I mean, there's a scenario where, you might see 2 top pitching prospects for the Orioles come up this season and get a chance to perform. Guys, we got a few minutes left before we wrap it up here. And before we get out of here tonight, I would be remiss if I didn't, since it is opening day eve, we got to talk about American League Rookie of the Year, National League Rookie of the Year. We talked about some of the front runners, but I want to get your thoughts, guys, on who you think. And for all of you guys watching out there, who do you think? What are your thoughts and predictions for American League Rookie of the Year, National League Rookie of the Year? And do you have any other, predictions on guys as we head into 2022? So let's just get into it here. Reese, I'll start with you. Who do you think will win the American League Rookie of the Year?
I hate to be boring, but Julio Rodriguez will win AL Rookie of the Year. I think he's just gonna. I think Bobby Witt's gonna be fantastic, but I think Bobby Witt's gonna struggle a little bit. I do have concerns about the hit tool. Julio Rodriguez, I don't have any concerns about the hit tool. He's just gonna hit for a ton of power, and yeah, I think Julio Rodriguez is just gonna go easy on the AL.
So my only issue with Julio Rodriguez is I think that right now Jared Kelenic has nowhere to go but up. Like Jared Kelenic's value has never been as low as it is right now. And so I get the sense that Kelenic will have a good season. And if Kelenic has a good season, then there's going to be a lot of conversation about Jared Kelenic, not to win Rookie of the Year because he's already graduated, but just in terms of the bounce back of Jared Kelenic. I think there's going to be a lot of people talking about, wow, okay, this is what we thought we were going to get from Kelenic when he came up as a rookie. He didn't do it. He kind of underwhelmed, but now we're starting to see glimpses of that superstar potential in Kelenic. And if we do get some of that, I just worry that will take away a little bit of the allure of Julio Rodriguez, and it just might lean people in a different direction. Whereas a guy like Bobby Witt, there's really no one else on that team that people are going to be talking about. And so maybe he has a little bit more of he's on the pole, if you will, for that American Rookie of the Year. I don't know. Brandon, what are your thoughts? Who do you think is going to win Rookie of the Year in the AL?
Yeah, Reese, I'm not going to take the same pick that he had, but he took my pick.
He took your pick? All right.
Yeah,
all right.
I think
my bad.
It's on the record. It's on the record. You both think that Julio Rodriguez is going to win American League Rookie of the Year. I got you.
Yeah, but I can give you a second, and I'll go with Bobby Witt with the Royals. And wouldn't it be something if he comes up this year in Kansas City and he puts up the same type of season he had in AAA last year, and he becomes a 30-30 guy and wins the Rookie of the Year in his first year? So I definitely think that'll be a fun story to watch in Kansas City this summer.
All right, so we've got basically Julio Rodriguez in a runaway for American League Rookie of the Year. So if you are on DraftKings, guys, and you are a betting man, you can get $450 for a $100 bet by taking Julio Rodriguez to win American League Rookie of the Year. That is $140 better odds than if you take Bobby Witt Jr. So Bobby Witt is plus 310 to win it. Rodriguez comes in second at plus 450. So you heard it here first. Reese White, Julio Rodriguez, Brandon Smith agrees with him, but we'll take Bobby Witt Jr. by default only because I asked him to go second. So now, Brandon, because you had your pick sniped by Reese, I will pose the question to you on the opposite side. Who will win the National League Rookie of the Year? Brandon, go ahead and snipe away, kid.
Okay, this may be a little bit of a hot take here, but I'm going to go with Bobby Miller with the Dodgers. I think he comes in and wins NL Rookie of the Year. And I think for anyone that watched his start last night against the Angels, I think he's a guy that is mature beyond his years. Definitely showed a solid, well above average to plus 3-pitch mix last night. And we're talking about the Dodgers. They do the best job in baseball at developing pretty much anything and having their guys produce at the major league level. It's a team that has had success in the past, bringing up young pitchers and producing right away. We look at Julio Urias, Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May, Walker Buehler, and I think Bobby Miller is the next guy in that line. I think there is a little question mark surrounding the Dodgers rotation long-term, but I think by June, July, Bobby Miller could be a guy that really stabilizes himself as a horse in the Dodgers rotation for the second half.
So and Reese, I'll get to you in a second, but before we go there, because I do think this is a bit of a hot take here. You look at the Dodgers rotation: Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, Julio Urias, Tony Gonsolin, Andrew Heaney, penciled in right now according to Roster Resource, right? That is the Dodgers predicted rotation. And then even if you look in the bullpen, like let's just say he doesn't get regular starts, because it's going to be very difficult, right? We all agree it's going to be difficult for him to get starts in that Dodgers rotation. Even if you look at the bullpen, you're talking about Craig Kimbrell, Blake Trinan, Daniel Hudson. Like these are all guys who have significant track records at the big league level. Brusdar Graterol, who was a big time prospect recently. Victor Gonzalez, who I'm pretty high on. Certainly out of the bullpen for them. I'm shocked that you say that. Like, where is the opportunity for a guy like Bobby Miller? Do you think it's in the road? Do you think he gets starts, or do you think he comes in and is like a blowaway reliever?
I mean, I think with the season having an extended playoff spot, I think that gives teams a little bit of flexibility to maybe implement a little bit of like workload management with their starters, maybe a little bit of phantom DL here and there. And the Dodgers have definitely not shied away from tapping into their pitching depth. So I think he could be used in a hybrid role, like you said, but I think his future is definitely in the rotation. And I think he's definitely a guy that will be making starts down the stretch for the Dodgers.
All right. So I guess, man, Reese, I would love to say, oh my God, what are you going to do? Brandon just totally took your pick, but I'm pretty sure he didn't. So Reese, have at it.
Okay. I'm going to go with Alec Thomas. I love the hit tool. I think he's going to be a middle of the order type guy for that lineup. I think, or top of the order, honestly. And I think Alec Thomas is going to be my NL Rookie of the Year. I mean, Seiya Suzuki's not a rookie, right? We're not counting him. Like, because I mean,
I believe we're counting him, right?
Oh well, I mean that's the easy pick, but I don't want to go easy. I'll go Alec Thomas or Bryson Stott, but I'll go Alec Thomas. I like Alec
Right.
Thomas.
I mean, why wouldn't he count?
Yeah, I just thought because of his experience professionally,
if Ichiro can win Rookie of the Year, right?
I guess that's true. If Ichiro won it, then I mean, I guess he can win it too. I guess in my own mind, like these professional guys that come over, I like just discount them and like don't view them as prospects because I view them more as like major leaguers already. But yeah, I think I'll go Alec Thomas.
Okay. So Joshua Butterbaugh, what about O'Neal Cruz? No love for O'Neal Cruz. I think everybody took a collective gut punch when the announcement was made that O'Neal Cruz was not going to break camp with the Pirates and he was going to get sent down. I think even if you are a fan of the Pittsburgh Pirates, you are absolutely, the only emotion that you can have towards this team is anger, right? Even if you are a diehard Pirates fan, every single year for the last, my lifetime has just been extremely frustrating for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And, O'Neal Cruz, highly regarded, going to start down in the minors. Why? I don't really know. Certainly a guy, I think you guys would agree, has a chance if he comes up early enough. He could certainly win National League Rookie of the Year, right?
I mean, yeah. What are the odds he's not their best like position player outside of Brian Reynolds, right? I think there's like a real possibility that he's already like their second best guy when Brian Reynolds gets traded, their best guy. He would definitely get it, but it's just like the Pirates just keep doing this. Like, there's no reason for him to be down in the minors, but I mean, it's just the Pirates continuing to be the Pirates. I mean, they made Garrett Cole look not great. I mean, it's just a history of them doing weird things with prospects.
Yeah, I mean, look, they will go down. For my money, they have made the worst trade that I've ever seen in my entire life, right? So, I mean, we're talking in my 42 years of baseball, right? Assuming that I was watching baseball when I was 1 year old. I've never seen a trade as bad as the one that they made to acquire Chris Archer. You could make an argument that each player that they sent to Tampa Bay individually was an overpay for Archer straight up, right? Like if they had sent Austin Meadows straight up for Chris Archer, I think the Rays got the better end of it. If they had sent Austin Meadows, or if they had sent Chris Archer straight up for Shane Baz, I think the Rays would have got the better end of it. And certainly Tyler Glasnow straight up, the Rays would have got the better end of it. The Rays got all three of those guys. So the Pirates just have like years of this built-in frustration. And now they've got a guy like Cabrian Hayes, who's young and upcoming. They've got Brian Reynolds, who everyone is talking about in trade rumors. Why? Because the Pirates why wouldn't they trade him? Just so that they can get younger prospects and then trade those prospects as they get close to making their debut. And now here they are with a guy like O'Neal Cruz. So I think it's difficult. I feel for Pirates fans. I remember, not so long ago when the Pirates were good and they just couldn't beat, was it the Giants? They just couldn't beat the Giants in the wild card. They couldn't beat Madison Bumgarner in the wild card to get further into the playoffs. Taking a quick look at the National League rookie odds, right? Like we talked about DraftKings a little bit earlier. So the odds for Rookie of the Year in the National League, Suzuki is the odds-on favorite. O'Neal Cruz is second, and then Hunter Green third, C.J. Abrams fourth, Bryson Stott, who will break camp with the Phillies. He will be a member of the Philadelphia Phillies on opening day tomorrow. Joey Bart, Sixto Sanchez, and then your boy Reese, Alec Thomas comes in eighth. Matt Vierling is ninth, and then Edward Cabrera for the Marlins is 10th. My money is on Nick Lodolo. Looking at the odds here, give me Nick Lodolo at plus 4,000, simply because the Reds don't have any better options. Hunter Green is up. Nick Lodolo is up. I think they're going to give those guys every opportunity to get full-time starts. And I think if you're a pitcher and you get full-time starts, the counting stats will come. I don't know how many wins the Reds are going to get this year. I certainly think that they're a rebuilding team and they're not going to contend for that division, even though it is a weak division. But give me Nick Lodolo at plus 4,000. Guys, do you have any long shots there that you look at?
Ooh.
Any long shots there? Look, Brennan Davis is a big one. Reese, I know you talked about some of the Cubs, like Brennan Davis at plus 2,500. Mackenzie Gore, do the Padres call it Mackenzie Gore after the phenomenal start and the phenomenal spring he's had?
I do like Mackenzie Gore. I think if Mackenzie Gore does win it, it'll be because he was this, obviously a key contributor and he gets a rotation spot. I mean, they just traded Chris Paddock today for some reason,
right?
Which was a weird one. I mean, I'm not a big Chris Paddock guy by any means, but Mackenzie Gore should really walk into that rotation because it's not exactly a rotation that's known for staying healthy. So I think he'll get his chance to make his mark. So I like that at 20. What did you say? 25 to 1?
Mackenzie Gore's at 35 to 1.
35 to 1. I even like that a little bit more. I would have taken it 25 to 1. So yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, 25 to 1. You're talking about guys like Brennan Davis, Edward Cabrera, Cade Cavalli's at 30 to 1. So Brandon, what about you? Any long shots here in the National League that you think might have a chance to take home Rookie of the Year?
I think my actual pick may be a little bit of a long shot.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, right. What am I talking about? I think let's try to find Bobby Miller. Here we go. 75 to 1.
Oh,
75 to 1, Bobby Miller. Let's talk about some of the guys. So let's have fun. We'll get out of here in a couple of minutes, but since we're just going to have some fun here with Brandon, Bobby Miller, 75 to 1 to win National League Rookie of the Year. He's behind Helio Ramos of the Giants, who I don't even think will come up, or at least graduate, certainly enough to get Rookie of the Year. Perdomo of the Diamondbacks, Drew Waters, Campusano with the Padres, Max Mayer, obviously Reese, you talked about him with the Marlins, Liberatore with the Cardinals, Nolan Gorman with the Cardinals, Seth Beer. I think with the universal DH, Seth Beer is a guy that could step into, some everyday at bats, certainly as a designated hitter there for Arizona. So those are all just some of the guys that are listed ahead of Bobby Miller at 75 to 1. But I think, Brandon, you need to put some money down on that one.
Yeah, I'm not much of a betting man, so
we're talking 26th. So Bobby Miller comes in 26th in the National League for odds on winning Rookie of the Year. All right, guys. So any parting words? I guess Reese, we'll start with you. Anything that you would like to say as we head into opening day? Obviously, opening day kicks off tomorrow. Final thoughts here before opening day tomorrow. Reese, start with you.
Yeah, go subscribe to the Patreon because then you can get the daily sheet, which might be the greatest piece of minor league coverage that any publication has.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. And I'm writing low A this year, so it'll be a good time. We'll cover some guys. I'll give you my thoughts on them and mess around and have some fun. It's a great time. I know Jake Kearns and who's the new guy? Someone else jumped on is covering AAA, and then there's Trevor Huth on AA. Matt Thompson's covering high A, and then we got a cast of characters covering the complex levels. I forget who. I think Alex is covering them because Alex is he's kind of a savant when it comes to covering the complex leagues. Shout out Alex Juicy Jensen. And yeah, follow me on Twitter at Reese B. White. And yeah, I guess and go Tigers. Hopefully Tigers
Go
do well.
Tigers.
Go well in the AL Central. That's my team. So yeah, go Tigers.
All right, Brandon, final thoughts before we hit opening day tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting the minor league season and MLB season out in the full swing starting tomorrow, and definitely look for my live looks, particularly in the AAA East. And I'll be covering the Complex League and the DSL once that gets going on the daily sheet. And yeah, really looking forward to the upcoming season.
All right, well, appreciate it, guys. And be sure to check out the website, prospectslive.com. As Reese mentioned, subscribe to Patreon. You can get a lot more, in-depth content by subscribing to the Patreon channel. So you can do that for as little as $5 a month. We appreciate all of the Patreon subscribers now. I think we're up over 600 currently, so that's fantastic. I'm sure that will increase as we get into the season, certainly with the daily sheet as well, as Reese mentioned. So be sure to check out the website, prospectslive.com, the Patreon page as well. Follow Reese White on Twitter at Reese B. White. You can check out all of his great content. Brandon Smith as well at Brandon_Smith17. And you can follow me at KRS Dunn. Until next time, guys, we'll have some stuff throughout the season. We're going to be working on some live shows as the season gets underway tomorrow. So stick around and pay attention to Prospects Live for some announcements along the lines of some live shows as the season starts. But for my co-host, Reese White, Brandon Smith, appreciate the time. I'm Kris Dunn. We'll talk to you guys later. Take care, everybody.